So what we're doing is we're doing a video for Neuropathways. This is a system that was designed by Margaret Ayers, and we use it as a single channel. You can use 2 channels at one time. We only use 1. So what we do is we start actually by turning the computer on. So her computers, we only use her computers for her system. So it has a door over here. So we open the door, and then there's a power switch right here. And we just turn it on and just close the door. And so it'll take a second or 2 for that to come up. It is an older computer, it's an older system, but extremely effective. Margaret Ayers did develop protocols. There's a book called Whispers in the Brain, and she has different protocols for all kinds of different symptoms relating to all the way from ADD to seizures to insomnia and enuresis, all kinds of different things that she found to be effective with neuropathways. Basically pretty much anything. She was very well versed in not necessarily amplitude, but morphology of the wave. So she was very skilled. Her and her partner Penny Montgomery were very skilled at actually looking at the morphology of the wave, and they could read the EEG, and they trained people by changing the morphology of the wave. So she had a lot of success. So we do use this system for certain types of symptoms. In particular, we have used them for people that have had seizures, particular seizures, not every type of seizure disorder, but and then we've also used it for people that have had symptoms related to vertigo. So we are going to actually, that is what we're going to be doing, setting this gentleman up, is we are going to be doing a protocol that she wrote for vertigo imbalances. And so what we're doing is, once we get the computer up and running, I'm going to get him set up, and we're going to put an electrode for her protocol. For her protocols, she would do 2. She would put, this is O1 and this is O2. So she would put 2 electrodes just underneath, right where the bone of the skull kind of dips down. So if you feel here, you kind of have to, neurofeedback is a hands-on job. So you have to feel the client's head, and you feel under here where the skull kind of dips down. So this is the area where you would put the electrodes, just off, not underneath it, but just where the bone starts to kind of dip down. So she would do both. We are going to do O1, just underneath O1. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, I'm going to set the computer up first, and we're going to, this is why we use her computer, because this is the only computer that has her software on it. And unfortunately, she did not have a predecessor when she passed away to pass this on to. And so there's very limited amounts of Neuropathway computers and software available. So what we do is we go ahead and click on this Neuropathways EEG icon. And I want to ask Melton, before I go ahead and set him up, is it okay if I put your name in for the video, or should I?
Yes, that's fine.
It's okay.
MELTLN.
All right. Okay, so we go ahead and we click continue here. And then we're going to choose EEG feedback. And then we're going to come up here and choose Neuropathways EEG feedback session. And since he's new, we're going to go ahead and click on new patient.
H-A-T-C-H.
Okay. H-A-T-C-H. And then you come down to the, the first name.
M-E-L-T-O-N.
Okay. So we have M-E-L-T-O-N. We don't need a control. We're going to go ahead and hit OK. Now you need to make sure that you remember exactly how you put this person's name in for your client, because when you come back into the program, you are going to click on existing patient instead of new, and you have to have it absolutely perfect the way you put it in before. No variations of case sensitive at all. It has to be exactly the way you put it in. So we'll go ahead and hit OK. And now we're going to go ahead and set up the sites. So the first one that we're going to do is we're going to click on 01. This is going to be our training site. And we're going to find the reference ear that goes with. And because her software is set up where you do actually have to pick 2 sites, we're going to pick 2 sites. One of them we're going to use as a reference here, but we're going to actually click on a site next to it, and then we're going to hit OK. So this is our setup screen. And now this here, we've already done this. We've chosen our 1020 electrode locations. This is to modify the scheduled session duration. So we're going to click on this, and we're not going to do 30 minutes. We're going to do, in this case, we're going to do 15 minutes. And we're going to click on OK. Then we're going to come down here. We're going to modify bandpass frequency settings. In this area, we are actually going to be choosing 4 to 7. That is what we're going to be inhibiting for the slow activity for theta. So we don't need to change this, but if we ever need to change any of our inhibits, we come into this area. So we're going to go ahead and hit OK. And then we just kind of go down the line here is what we're doing. So we're going to go ahead and click on Modify Bandpass Threshold Settings. What we're going to do, what we're looking to train is the B. We're not looking at A. So Margaret Ayers, she would down train one and up train the other. So facilitate means up train. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and bring this all the way to 0 because we are not up training anything. We are only down training. So we're concentrated on B, which is the inhibit threshold. Now it defaults to 10. And we don't really we're not going to know where to set the threshold until we actually start the session so we can see the activity. So we're going to go ahead and hit OK. Now, the only thing left to do on the bottom is to modify the chart mode. So what we're going to be doing, and this actually is showing how the EEG is going to flow across the screen. We choose the strip chart. And then we hit OK. Okay. Now you have everything set up. As soon as you hit OK, the session's going to start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get Melton's sights all set up and get his ear clips on. And what we want to do first, most important, some of the older systems that we have are, it depends on the filters that are in there. They're very sensitive to impedances. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and get his ear, we call it getting the ears ready. If you do neurofeedback, especially with us, you'll hear that over and over again. So this is new prep, and it's a little bit abrasive. So what I'm going to do is rub his ears, and because you're going to be putting the ear clips on the ears, and what this does is 2 things. It cleans the skin, and it also gives it a little bit of connection help. So when you put the ear clips on, the new prep is going to help with your connections. So we're going to start by putting his electrode right below 01. So we have our 1020 paste here. And we have our core. This is going to be our active electrode right here. So this is the amplifier that we use for Neuropathways. And it's only for Neuropathways. This here is an impedance checker. Of the older software does not have the impedance monitors in with the software. So we have a separate one here that we can check to make sure our connections are good. So what I'm going to do, we have it labeled here, we're going to plug in our active here, just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and put, just all you need is just a little pea size right there. And we put a cotton ball on top of it once we put it on the scalp to hold the electrode on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to feel for that bone that we talked about. And so I feel it right about here is where it starts to dip down. So I'm going to put it almost like it's hanging off the bone in a way. So you're going to go ahead and you put this right there. I put the cotton ball on top of it, and then I just push the electrode on and make sure it's on there nice and tight. And now we're going to go ahead and just put the ear clips on. Now, since we're checking for connections, go ahead and get the paste out of the way. What we're going to do is we're going to plug one ear clip in at a time to our connections monitor. And we'll plug that one in there. We're going to use our gel. We're going to go ahead and fill our ear clips, just a little tiny one. You see just like a little bit of a mound on each side. We're going to go ahead and put this on the ear. So we just right on the ear lobe, just like that. Now what we do, we have both of this is full. So on our connections monitor, there's a button here that says on. And you want to make sure that your dial is on contact so that it's actually reading where it's at. So we're going to go ahead and hit on. And you want to wait just for a little bit to see. Okay, this is an excellent example of what you don't want to see for connections. So you have a green light and you have a red light. You can see the red light's on and it says poor. So you're looking here at the numbers. Now the best connections to have are 5 and below. So right now we're reading at 85, but no need to panic. So what we're going to do first, and more than likely it's going to be the electrode that's on the back of the head. We're going to go ahead and take this electrode off. There's a variety of things that you could be getting connections with. This electrode looks to be in pretty good shape. It's not dark. If you look on the inside, it's still pretty shiny. So it looks relatively new. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, reapply some paste. That should be enough. Let's go ahead and reapply right. It's really important to try and get the best contact with the skin as possible. Now with people that have short hair, that's not necessarily as easy, but you can do it. And you really want to be kind of firm pushing this on. You're not going to hurt the client. Let's go ahead and hit on again and let's check our connections. Not only is neurofeedback a hands-on job, it's a messy hands-on job. So now we're reading at about 62. I've reapplied the electrode with paste. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the ear. Let's look at the ear clip because it got a little bit better, but we still need to get much better than that. So what we do is we take our ear clip. Sometimes if we just move it around a little bit, there's little tricks that you learn after you do neurofeedback long enough. Okay, so we're still not doing well with our connections now. To save a little bit of time, what we're going to do is we're going to disconnect this ear. We'll come back to the ear. Let's check the other ear. And then maybe we'll see. Okay, so our impedances are looking pretty good. We got this ear is connected to the impedance monitor. Switched out the cord, and that made all the difference in the world. So now we're doing very well. So what we want to do is go ahead, we're going to leave the active in because we need to check our other ear again. We're going to take this one and we're going to just plug it into the R, which is the reference. Let's just plug this one back in real quick here so we can see how things are going. We are doing well, very well. Okay. So we're done with checking the impedance monitors. We're going to go ahead and take this one and plug it into the ground. And then the active, we're going to make sure that we plug it into the active line right here. Okay. So now we're ready to go. We're ready to start our session. What we're going to do is explain to the client what they need to do. Now, for this session, Melton, it's what you're going to be doing is you're going to be watching the screen, and it's very direct and very simple. What is going to be happening is there's going to be 3 strips. There'll be one here and one here and one here. Your focus is going to be on the one right here. This up here is going to be monitoring eye movement and any kind of tension. This one we just disregard because we're not up training anything. So this down here, it's going to be one line of brain waves going across the screen. And there's going to be 2 lines, one on top of each one, kind of like they're in like borders. And I'm going to set it so that you want your brain waves to stay in between those 2 lines. Okay?
Okay.
As you're doing that, you're going to be hearing a beep, which is your feedback. And that's what you want to hear. That's your reward. Now, as your brainwave gets bigger, it's going to go outside of the border lines, and when that happens, you won't hear the beep. It just goes away. When your brain starts getting smaller again, brain waves starts getting smaller again, where it fits inside the borders, then you'll start hearing the beep again. So that's going to be your goal, is to hear the beeps as many times as possible. Okay? Now, the best thing that you can do for your session is to just be nice and relaxed and let your brain do the work for you. Okay, you ready?
Sure.
All right. So what we do to start it is we just go ahead and hit OK. That's all we do. Hit OK, and we wait for this to go away. Now what we need to do in the beginning is we've got to look and see where our client's line is, where their activity is averaging, and see where we need to adjust our threshold. So we're going to grab it and we're just going to bring it down with our mouse. So as you see, as you're adjusting this here, you see that your red lines here are closing down.
Red lines, I don't see the red lines.
These 2 right here.
Oh, there.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Got it,
So that's
got it.
going to be your focus down there. Now you notice that we have a lot of erratic activity up here, and this is eye movement. So as he gets nice and focused and still, and he's watching his EEG down here, that starts to resolve itself, and he's able to have EEG that goes across the line. So we want to give him a little bit of a challenge. We don't want him to be meeting his goals 100% or he's not getting any feedback. So what we do is we find the average of where he is and we put our thermometer there, or our threshold line. And we're going to put it at about 3. I'll leave it at about 3.2 right now.
So I'd be concentrating on that lower.
It's whichever, I'll tell you, whichever is easier. Sometimes it's easier for people to watch this.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're watching your brainwave, the smaller it gets and the more it fits inside that red line is what you want, like this right here. And then some people look at this line over here and they see this is their goal line and they want to stay below it, which you're doing a pretty good job at. So what we do is we just we leave the client, let them train, and then we come back. And then when we come back, we'll pick up where we left off, and we'll show you how to end the session. So the session has finished, and what we're going to do is we're going to document the progress that he made, and this becomes our baseline session. So every session afterwards will compare to the numbers that we write down for this one. So. Okay. He went for 15 minutes, and then we can look what we're looking at. There's a couple different things we're looking at. He did very well, actually. Reward count per minute, he met his goal at 73 times per minute, which is very good. And so this is the number that we're looking to see decrease. So 5.88 is going to be the number that we're looking to see a decrease in every time from now on out when we do this again. So what we do on our sheet, because we are inhibiting theta, what we're going to do is we're going to write, this is our single sheet documentation. We're going to write his number right here in the theta area. So we're just putting 5.88. And then in the score, or percentage, we're going to write his reward count per minute, which is 73.43. He did better than the average. What is considered the average reward is between 60 to 65. So you did much better than normal. And so next time what we might do is even lower your threshold just a little bit more. To make it a little more challenging. And so at the end of the session, you don't stop the session, it ends itself and it comes back to the screen. So all you do is go ahead down here in the bottom right hand corner, you click on exit program, and then you're going to exit without saving, and then you're going to click on exit. And come up here and click off of this. And then we basically go ahead and just shut the computer down at this point as well. If you were to use this consistently, you would just leave it on, but we don't. So we'll go ahead and turn it off. And then do not forget, because most computers nowadays, you don't have to turn it off with a switch as well, to open your door and turn it off there as well. And then unhook your client and you're good to go.